Hello, it's Matt Linklater. I've been featured in Inc. magazine on ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. My mission is to change the financial landscape of America. So when you think about it as a leader, you have to push your team's envelope each and every day. You have to elevate their standard. This is really about how do you maximize your time. So how do you do it within your business? How do you figure out who your target market is? And ultimately you want to narrow that focus, don't you? So how do you push beyond your emotions and kind of visualize your success? And you have to be congruent, one of thought, one of word, and one of action. The quality of your life is found in the rituals that you keep. The quality in your business is found in the rituals that you keep for your business. Axie, say I can.
I can.
Say I must.
I must.
Say I am.
I am.
Say Axie Unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
Hello, it's Matt Linklater here with LBS, financial strategies that transform your business. But just like we want to transform your business with our financial strategies, we also want to bring you great content that can help you transform your life. Because if your business is going great, sometimes our health is failing, sometimes our relationships aren't great, our relationships with our spouse or our kids. And so I'm always thinking about how can I bring you great things that I do in my own life to help me be a great business owner, help me be a great husband, and help me be a great dad, and also stay healthy. So if you can do all that, you have a great life, and that's the trick. If you know anything about me over the years here, is that I am a self-help junkie. And so I found Becky Blake because I wanted to give my kids the cutting edge. Now you're laughing because my kids are 4 and 2. What kind of cutting edge am I going to get them? But I found Becky Blake, and she's a neuroscientist or neurodeveloper of children and adults with brain injuries. So what she can do for children is she can get nonverbal children to speak within 2 weeks. She can get kids reading within 2 weeks. And when I say kids, these are 3 and 4-year-olds that she can get reading. Matter of fact, I am convinced she's going to get my 2-year-old reading because Axie, if you've seen his videos online, he is a little bit crazy and a little bit different. But I think she's going to get him reading in no time. And she can bring back people back who've had brain problems or brain injury. She can bring them back to, I don't know what normal is, but at least back to where they used to be or back to functioning. So really impressive when you find somebody who can go outside of the blinders that we see in society and get outside of the box and produce results and produce them consistently. So enough about me talking about how great she is. Let me introduce you to Becky Blake. And so Becky, thank you for being on today.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah.
So Becky, I mean, the best thing is just tell us your story. How did you get to where you are to being able to develop all the fantastic things I just talked about?
Yeah. So I was my first client. So I was a kid growing up in school hearing, if only you applied yourself, you could do more and be more. And in my brain, I'm thinking, I'm working up to what expectations are. Why work harder for a better grade? If I can get through with C's, I'm going to do C work, right? What's the benefit? So I was always in trouble. I was always bored in school. So they were looking at like ADD, ADHD. They were looking at, I actually did have dyslexia. So I was my first client, and what I realized was attention deficit disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, it truly isn't a disorder. It's actually your personality type.
Sure.
So there's like 15% of the world who have these personality types. So the other part of the world wants to say it's a disorder. We need to fix you and medicate you and do this other stuff. So I actually went on a mission when I was, how old was I? I was in 4th grade, and I actually spent the whole summer in the library, so it was like 9, reading all the books on psychology. How do people work? I had no clue how to be social. I didn't understand why I was always in trouble. So I wanted to figure out how do people work and how can I, be like everybody else, right? So I read all these books on psychology, and then next to psychology was the self-help books, and next to psychology was the religion books. And I'm literally like 9 years old and just soaking in all this information that there's nothing wrong with me, that I just need to understand strategies and how to get through the world with these strategies. So just going through my life, thought I was a master manifester. I used to think like if you think you can make it happen. So I was like 7 years old, and I was with my parents on a Friday, and we went out to get burgers, and I was watching this guy flip burgers, and in my head I'm thinking, whoa, that's so amazing. I wonder if I grow up, I could do that too. Literally, by the time I was 16, guess where my first job was? Same place, flipping burgers. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought about this when I was a child.
Right.
So what we focus on is what we get. We need to have goals and we need to have outcomes, not only for ourselves, but also for our children. So focusing on how do I become a better person instead of why does this happen to me? Why I used to focus on why am I always in trouble, because I didn't understand. Why am I always in trouble? I had such good intentions. I wanted my t-shirt, but my intentions were good. So just thinking about mindset, what we focus on we get more of. And I'm a little kid figuring this out.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out how to navigate through the school world, how to be social. And I so I could have been anything after school. I could have been an attorney, I could have been a doctor, I could have been anything. And my best friend says, I ask her, I go, what are you doing after high school? And she goes, I'm going to beauty school. So I'm like, me too. Like my parents were like, oh my gosh, like, right? If I applied myself, I could be anything, and I'm going to school to become a hairdresser. So my parents were mortified, but I had a lot of fun. And the funny thing was we had a class on business, and it was how to be the best employee you can be.
Yeah.
So I'm like an employee, like I'm going to be an employer. I'm going to have the salon, and I created the salon, and it, it was beautiful. And then my teacher flunked me. That was not the assignment. The assignment, I'm in trouble again, I'm flunking, but I thought I did an amazing job. A year and a half later, I went in to apply for a job at a hair salon, and the guy said, I'm the owner, and the person that's been leasing my salon just went to jail for 2 years. You want a hair salon? So I was 19 years old and had my own hair salon. And the funny thing is, it was kitty corner to my beauty school. So I was able to walk over and talk to the owner and say, you flunked me out of class, but I own my own hair salon, right? So again, what we focus on, I could have been the best, I am a good employee, right? I could have been the best employee, but that's not what I wanted to focus on. I want to be at the top level. I want to get to the top, and then, I don't want to just be mediocre. I want to be the best. So, my life is good. I've had a lot of adversities, and I really believe our adversities is what gets us to the next level.
Absolutely.
So with all these successes I've had, there was always a struggle that kind of pushed me up. So I ended up getting married and having 3 kids. And so my 3 kids are beautiful and amazing. I had my daughter, and then 16 months later had twin boys. So I had 3 babies under the age of like 1.5. And then my ex-husband left when the babies were only 2 weeks old. So I became a single mom. I wasn't working. I was he was supporting me. And all of a sudden I'm now in this little box of like, now what do? I got these 3 babies. I don't have an income. I don't have a job. I have all these bills. And I went back to thinking, what you focus on, you get more of. So if I keep focusing on lack and scarcity, I'm going to get more lack and scarcity. So funny thing is, I was at a Barnes & Noble, and a book fell out of the shelf, and literally fell out of the shelf, and it was a book by Tony Robbins called Awaken the Giant Within.
Yeah.
So my kids are 2 and 3. I'm reading this book that Tony's has written, and it's all about focus on what you want, right? Do you want to focus on the doctor's limiting beliefs, or do you want to create the best compelling future possible?
Yeah.
Do you want create your path, otherwise you're going to live somebody else's path? A couple years later, after this book, all 3 of my kids end up having special needs. One of my sons he's labeled brain injured, mentally retarded, later got the autism diagnosis. My other son was labeled oppositional defiant disorder, and then my daughter was having migraine headaches and not taking water and a lot of sensory issues. So I'm thinking back to this book and my focus on what you want. Literally, my kids are 2 and 3 years old, and I'm thinking in my head, I want them to be tax-paying contributors to society, making happy, healthy choices.
Right.
My friends thought I was crazy. Like, why are you saying all this stuff? And what we focus on, we get more of. If I focus on, I'm a single mom with no resources, with 3 unique children, oh my gosh, I'll not be able to do this.
Right.
So it was step by step. What do I need to do? What do I need to focus on? So me focusing on my children succeeding and graduating and leading normal lives, they are. All 3 of my kids are in their late 20s. One works at Boeing, one works for the city, and my daughter's a special ed teacher for deaf children. So they're living the lives of their dreams. Because I thought, instead, I work all over the world, I travel around the world, I'm like Mary Poppins, live in families' homes, giving them strategies to help their kids talk and read and potty train. And what we focus on is what we get more of. So I walk into these homes with these children who are having a hard time, and the parents are like, he's never going to talk, or they're never going to be potty trained. And I'm like, guess what's going to happen? Never. They never will. So once we start raising expectations, changing our focus, I see all children as highly capable. I don't care, I work with kids who can't move their bodies and can't speak, but their minds are fully functioning.
Yeah.
But they go into the system, the school system, and it's all low expectations. If you can't talk, you must be mentally retarded.
Yeah.
But you're not. Their brains are like engineer brains, right? So these are just all the little things I was able to find out. So instead of sending my kids to therapies, I'd go get trained in the therapies.
Yeah.
I have a photographic memory. So I started seeing these little connections like, oh my goodness, this is how the brain works, this is how the body works, and here's the root cause of a lot of things that are happening. So I can go into a home and kind of see the strategies that are happening, that the families are doing, the children are doing, and be able to critique it a little bit, and then magic happens, right?
Yeah.
Our brains and bodies can be well. Our brains and bodies want to be well.
Yeah.
So it's what we focus on, and if you're focusing on wellness and health and thriving and happiness and laughter, that's what we're going to get. If we question, like when my son was little and not speaking, my question, instead of like, oh no, he's never going to talk because that's what the doctor said,
Yeah.
I focus on what can I do to get my son to communicate. So I
Sure.
taught all three of my kids to sign language, and then as soon as my son started signing, he started speaking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that part of his brain's damaged, she's not supposed to be able to talk. The doctors didn't realize there's three modes of learning, and he's just not auditory. So he needed a visual kinesthetic way of speaking to get to his language center to
And
pull
he
the
could
words
see
out.
it and do it, and he got there.
And he got there.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'm thinking strategies. We all have different strategies, and so I just went on this huge mission to figure out strategies in people's brains and bodies and wellness and thriving and going to school and so it's amazing when we have the right information how easy it is. I've created this neurodevelopmental chart, and I'll show it to neurologists all over the world, and they're like going, oh my gosh, this is like the most amazing thing ever. We've been looking for this information, and you have it on one page. And then they say, but it can't be this easy.
Right.
It can't. It's got to be medication. It can't be this easy. But then you see these results of these kids, normal kids being even more highly capable, and special needs kids coming out of special needs, going to typical schools and highly capable programs. And it's easy with the right information and the right, again, it's working with people, getting the results you want. So when I would send my son to speech therapy and he's not speaking, and I'm asking the speech therapist, I'm saying, how many kids have you gotten to talk? And they're like, none. Like,
Yeah.
well, how are you going to help my son? Well, keep coming back because this is all we know, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So my thing was I need to go out and search. And when my kids were little, there was no internet. There was
Right.
nothing in the library on autism or, brain injury or anything. So I had to search programs all over the world to go attend to programs and learn this information. So it's just little, and Tony Robbins calls it 2 millimeter shifts.
Yeah.
Like those 2 millimeter shifts, our brains want to be a certain way, symmetrical, and we have it's called neuroplasticity. When our brains and bodies are in the right state, they can actually heal themselves.
Yeah.
So my question was, how do we get into that state?
Yeah.
So for me, it's through fun and laughter and games and bonding and knowing what people need at certain times, and then it's language. What we focus on, we get.
Yeah.
So, and I tell that to people all the time. I was literally on the phone today saying, I was speaking with a friend of mine, and the focus was, she was like, well, in reality, bad things are going to happen. I go, that's your reality.
Right. Yeah.
My reality, there's always a silver lining if we find it.
Yeah.
So my program works amazing, and I opened my own school just to help these kids. So I have this whole school curriculum that kids can become leaders. Like the hardest of the hardest kids and the special needs kids can become leaders, and just thinking what our neurotypical kids can do and
Right.
become leaders. And so when my son was 17 and a half, so we got him out of autism, and his brain was functioning fine, and he was in dirt biking, and he crashed his motorcycle. He died for 3 minutes, didn't have he had major brain injury, and the doctors were literally telling me the same thing at 17 that they were telling me at 2.
Yeah.
He's brain injured. He's not going to amount to anything. Think about institutionalizing him.
Yeah.
So it was like a serendipitous moment. I was like kind of had a little bit of a nervous breakdown. Like I worked so hard, and now this happens. And then come to find out, my program also works with brain injury. So within 3 months, his brain had a little blip in his brain instead of the major traumatic brain injury.
Right.
So it's the same information. It's the same brain-body connection. It's the same movement. It's the same activities that we use. I use with kids with special needs and that worked with the brain injury. So then Denmark found out about my program and started having me come over and work with kids with brain injury. So again, I was able to find the positive out of my son, who's now fine and brilliant, and he's a 28-year-old man doing 28-year-old
Right.
guy things, and I'm still his mother, right? So some of his choices are his choices. So, but he's living the life of his dreams. He just bought a new motorcycle. He's working. He's a contributor to society, making happy choices, right?
Yeah. Right.
So this information works with anybody with a brain, a body, and a nervous system. So it's interesting information. People are seeking it out, and and it's so needed. It's so needed in today's society, and it's getting harder, especially with our kids. And you know this at 2 and 4. Myself raising my kids when they were 2 and 3 is different than what 2 and 4 now. I didn't have the technology that we have now. So now there's a whole nother piece to the program that's creating our kids are their brains aren't going to be as malleable and as flexible with the technology if they're on technology a lot. If they're not outside, like you guys, your family's outside playing, and you're outside walking, and you're doing your movement all day long. You know, your whole family is about movement, but that's not typical anymore in today's society. Holland did a study, and it did a study on the U.S., and it says we move 11 minutes out of our day.
Oh.
We get up in the morning, we go to work. You know, we're usually in a little boxed area. We come home, watch TV, and then we go to bed. Like, this is typical America now, is we're not moving enough. We need our kids moving, playing, laughing, creating. We need them getting dirty, right? We need them being kids again, not just, you know, I go to families' houses, and these kids are on their iPads 24 hours a day. They're sleeping with their iPads on, and then the parents are wondering, well, why is my kid not tired at night? Because he laid around all day. Right? Why is my kid not hungry and only wants chicken nuggets a certain way with certain crispiness? You know, why are they so demanding? Because they're not hungry, because they didn't work and move, anything, right? So it's just a compounding problem. There's a senior scientist from MIT said in 2025, the autism rates are going to be 1 in every 2 children. So to me, it's not a
it's all environmental.
brain thing, it's environmental. So we have what we had in the 50s, the savants and the autism from the 50s, and then we have now what's environmental that's happening in utero. When the mothers are 6-7 months pregnant and need to be moving, they're sedentary on their computers, right? They're not doing, they need to be doing, you should be moving. It's almost like talking, you should be in the fields having the baby and then going back to work, you know, kind of thing. We need to be moving all the time. So it's lack of movement, lack of proper nutrition, dehydration. I mean, it sounds so simple, and stress. Stress is huge. How do we alleviate stress? And in my program, it's all done through fun and games. So it's just understanding our brains and our bodies. It's getting back to old-fashioned, I like to say the 50s, but then I have the people going, oh, but the 50s weren't good times. But the healthy foods, the real foods. So we were outside until, like we had this conversation, we were outside until the lights came on, and our parents are threatening to beat us for not coming in, and now we can't even get our kids outside, but we're afraid to put our kids outside, right? So there's a lot of fear. What we focus on, we get more of. So we're focused on fear, we're focused on, I'm not, but some people are, fear and lack, and right? So it's just knowing, and the best part about this program is once you see it work, you're like, oh my gosh, like it works quickly.
Real fast.
You see results quickly. So I love it. I'll talk to the scientists, I talk to the doctors, and they say, this is brilliant, this makes so much sense, but it can't be this easy. And then I come in and work with families' house in their homes, and they're like, wow, this sounds amazing, and it all makes sense. Like, good luck, right? And then usually by the time I'm leaving, they're going, oh my gosh, like, she might have something here. You know? So basically anybody can do this. Anybody can change their mindset. Anybody can, everything we focus on, I'm very mathematical and scientific. So it's what foods are you putting in your body and why. Like, I drink coffee, but I know I need to drink more water, right? I eat a protein every 3 to 4 hours because I need to rebuild and repair my body. So it's not the fad diet. It's not this diet or this diet. It's literally, what does your body need, when, why, how, and how do we create healthier selves? And that's what our kids need. And we can teach our kids this, right? If we teach our kids all this information on the brain, the body, and mindset, then they can make healthier choices when they get older, instead of like, I'm not eating that green stuff because you said it makes me healthy. Like, I don't want to be healthy. But if you tell a child, if you drink more water, you're going to run faster than your brother, you're drinking all the water you can. You know, so just life needs to be fun and playful, right? That's when people die, is when they retire, they lose interest in life, they become sedentary. There's no more compelling future, and they literally die, right? They're not, it's a whole other soapbox. But So yeah, it's just living our lives and being playful and having fun and being creative and reach for that top. I have family members that are very happy in their lives and what they do, and they're very happy here, and that's fabulous, right? But my thing is here. So, and it's all about identity. So at first I wanted to be the best mom I could be. So I did all I could to be the best mom I could be. And so then my kids went to school, and I'm like, I need to help other kids be the best they can be. So I opened my own school, right? And then after that, I'm thinking, I need to help 1 million people, right? So then I started creating products and, YouTube videos and things. And then I'm like, I need to help not only 1 million people, but I need to change all of medicine and education, right?
Yeah.
So then I start thinking, looking at, oh look, autism wants my school program, or like there's now things are starting to come up that's going to actually help me change medicine and education. Now my thing is I want to win a Nobel Prize, right? Yeah. So if I change medicine and education, then I should be able to get a Nobel Prize.
Oh, absolutely.
So what we focus on, we get more of. So I'm focusing on, I'm a helper. I don't like to see, I suffered as a child, and I don't think children need to suffer, right? So parents need this information so their kids don't have to suffer, whether it's now or when they're 16, 17 and trying to figure themselves out. So, but it's fun. It's been a fun journey. It's been hard. Being an entrepreneur is, I need to create the team around me to keep me supported and keep me going, and, no more Lone Rangering it, right? So it's creating the team and the people, and it's just believing this is all going to come to fruition. And we are all amazing people, and we can all do amazing things, no matter what our struggles are.
Absolutely. And so let me just kind of put in how I'm hearing it and what I've seen is, with my kids and in you speaking, it's really the connection of the brain. How do you get to the right brain to talk to the left brain and left brain to the right brain? And you've taught us to do that through purposeful movements and exercises. And almost instantly, my kids became more athletic. They both talk a ton more, and not that they were having necessarily troubles talking, but they just talk more. I mean, look, my 2-year-old talks in complete sentences and has complete conversations with you. Not saying he's genius, but I think that's because of your help. So how do you connect that right brain and left brain? And that was a big thing. And we had the nutrition down to a degree, but I think that's huge nowadays because we see other kids, and even I joke about millennials, not to show this, but when I go in business meetings, they're eating cheeseburgers and chicken nuggets at 25 at Ruth Chris, and which is just that diet just totally changed. And so it sounds like purposeful movement, connecting the brain properly, and it talks about and food and the right nutrition, and also just one thing that I hear out there, and I think this is important for this type of topic, is in Western medicine we always want to look at causation. But you can't. It's correlation because it's in the environment. It's your diet's correlated. Your right brain, left brain's correlated. The iPad is correlated. The lack of movement is correlated, and all that's causing the problem. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, it's like the tipping point. Right. It's once you get so much, and then you add that last thing. It's like that's it. Where it's that easy to pull it back out again. Like you look at the neurodevelopmental chart I've created, and what pieces of the brain need strengthened, and you just strengthen them, and then everything goes back into balance.
Yeah, and you have different layers, and we started down here, and now we're at the mid, and moving to the top, right?
Yeah, and kids is, so I've created this neurodevelopmental chart, and it's from birth to age 7, but and it's all the brain systems that we need to be focusing on. And so if a certain part isn't getting information or getting too much information, like sensory, or if the child's in a stress state or the grown-up's in a stress state, you come down to your fight flight brain, right? So if we can consciously know what we're working on and why, it's amazing how fast we can go back to homeostasis. When we know what we need to focus on. So that's what I'm doing, is helping people know truly what to focus on to create the greatest results in the fastest time. Because I want fast. What some of the programs I studied under were like, well, you might see results in 5 years, and I'm like, what? No, I want. If I didn't see results within 2 weeks in a program, that it was gone.
You got to shift it, right?
Yeah. So I want quick results because our brains and bodies work fast. Very fast.
Well, and I've seen it with my kids, just how fast they change, and it just takes a small shift, that 2 millimeter shift. And one thing you said there too is one thing I liked about your program is I think everything's state derived, and so I was taking my kid to daycare. And they're like, hey, go sit over here and listen to a story. My kid was 2.5. He didn't listen to a freaking story. It's not what he wanted to do. He wanted to go run and play with cars and do different stuff. I'm not saying he didn't like to read, but he didn't want to read
At that time.
Yeah, at that time. And so one thing I like is just very interactive. We're running around the kitchen island, we're doing stuff, we're dancing to songs. Yeah, I do it too.
We have to.
Yeah,
we need to be kids ourselves. That's actually the fountain of youth.
Oh, and they love
right?
it. They love it, and they love Dad's quirky sounds along with it and stuff. So that's what I really like about it. It really speaks to what kids aren't supposed to sit in a chair and say, "Hey, let's get you to talk." Well, that ain't working.
No.
Yeah. I mean, kids are maniacs.
Yeah.
So I imagine
And boys just have, the masculine energy just needs to be moving. Yeah. They need to rough and tumble, be moving, be wrestling, get all that input in.
Yeah.
And to have them sit still and behave, right? They're like, but there's stuff over there, but I want to be doing that over there. So get that out of their system, and then you can sit them down.
Yep.
Say, let's do this, right?
Oh,
so,
totally.
yeah.
Well, awesome. Anything I didn't ask you, anything you didn't say that that you think people, that people really need to make sure that because this is powerful stuff. I've seen it in action. I've seen other kids out there having problems, and you just want to go over there and hug them and help them and show them your program.
Yeah.
But that's not socially acceptable. So here, at least, I feel like I'm doing a great service by at least getting it out to my clients, my list, and things like that. So. I mean, what else could help them? Is there anything we didn't talk about?
Well, just for your children. So my thing is a lot of things happen. Our lives are fast, and we do too much for our kids.
Yep.
So I get a lot of kids who are 5, 6, 7, and the parents are like, they don't know how to put their shoes on, but nobody's ever made them.
Right?
Because we're too, get your shoes on. I'll do it for you. We gotta go.
I learned that from you coming around, believe me.
Right. So taking the time, little things, doing stuff in front of a mirror.
Yeah.
Right. They have no idea where they are in space when they're little.
No.
You do it in front of a mirror, and like, oh, my pants. Oh, like little simple little things. So I have a book out there. It's called Unlock Your Child's True Potential. I have a book. I have CD programs, parenting programs, parenting program for typical kids, parenting program for kids who have special needs, like getting them to talk, potty train, that kind of thing. And then we're actually just launching in a couple weeks is an online training program. So my thing is to help millions of people and help millions of people help millions of people. So I'm literally going to take my brain and just put it on a training platform. So we're actually creating a whole training certification program because more people need to know this information.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I have a school curriculum that we're licensing. Which is what you guys got, right? You have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. They need a preschool curriculum that's truly geared toward their brains and bodies and development, right?
That's
so
right.
We can get them reading in 3 weeks. We get them loving math. They'll get them loving science because that's how our brains and bodies work. Yeah. So it's fabulous. I'm loving life. I love families like yours who are amazing, and like to come into your house and the nutrition is already there was like, phew, like I can eat. I don't need to take you shopping so I can eat.
Right. So you can eat, right?
Yeah. So it's easy. My book literally, it's a fast, easy read, and it's the things to focus on. Five things to focus on to create the greatest changes. And that's what I've done, is just take the things that are going to create the greatest changes. So the 80%, 20% rule. Do 20%, you get 80% of the changes.
That's right.
And keep it fun and playful. And stress is huge. My thing is a lot of the issues right now are stress related. And so we can pull ourselves out of a stress state within 30 seconds. So I have people go, I've been stressed all my life. No, you would be dead. That's way too much tension. That's not true. You've come out of stress every now and then. So it's just learning the right tools. And that's what I do, is educate people on the right information and the right tools to make the quickest change.
You said something there about 20% drives 80% of the results. I've written 2 books on the 80-20 rule. Mm-hmm. And so for you, those of you listening, 1% of the people are going to generate over 50% of the results. And so when you're looking for results for your kids and giving them that edge from that neuroplasticity standpoint, is you're getting the 1%er here that's going to drive 50% of the results that we see in society. And that's what drew me and my wife to Becky. So Becky, tell us, where else can we find information, find your book, find some of your stuff?
So books are on Amazon. I have a website, Creating Super Kids. We're rebranding right now, so it's going to be Neuromundo. But you can definitely go to creatingsuperkids.com. All the information's there.
Yeah, well, great. We'll have all that underneath this video. And so other than that, Becky, I want to say thank you for coming on here. This has been fantastic. I think the information is not out there, and it needs to get out there. So I appreciate that, because kids are our future.
Kids are suffering, and they don't need to be.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
Fabulous.
Well, hey everybody, thanks for joining us on LBS here podcast, financial strategies to transform your business. But we really want to help you transform your life. And I want to be is whatever I'm doing in my life is kind of a think tank and testing, whether it be for my kids, health, business, and my relationship. I'll share those strategies that I find successful with you. And so please tune in here. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and at linkbizsolutions.blog. And underneath this video, I will have all the links to all Becky's books and her website. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll chat with you soon. Thanks a lot, Becky.
Thanks, guys.
Exie,
I
say I can.
can.
Say I must.
I must.
Say I am.
I am
Say Exie Unstoppable.
unstoppable.